Hey everybody, welcome back to the Pixelists podcast, the podcast about all the nerdy things we enjoy with a current heavy emphasis on Critical Role. I'm Will, that's Blake, and today we're here to talk about our baby, little Campaign 3 episode 27?
Yep.
Yeah, episode 27. It actually just came out on YouTube, so the title of this episode is A Race for the Prize, which you kind of think that would be like next week's episode, maybe.
I got a little bit of a bone to pick with the naming person because there is no race to be found in this episode.
Yes, that's true. Presumably next week, though. I mean, unless, they get locked down with some more analysis paralysis.
Yeah. Well, how are you doing today, my friend?
I'm good, man. I'm good. It's Monday, so, Monday's always, I feel like probably most people's least favorite day of the week. So it is Fair. Monday, but other than that, it's going pretty good. How about you?
Good. Yeah, it's Monday. So you said about everything that needs to be said about it, I guess. And
Case of the Mondays.
I like that you pointed out that this is basically a Critical Role podcast, but we're gonna keep the door open to other things.
That's right.
Namely, I did finally see Thor this past weekend.
Nice.
And we've pretty much always been like I'd say 70-30 Critical Role Marvel podcasts, and we've pretty much swung like full 99%, which I don't dislike. I love D&D. I mean, if we want to just embrace it, I'm fine. But we should probably do a little Marvel conversation, I think. Yeah,
I'd like that. So yeah, for any of our D&D fans that are also MCU fans, be on the lookout for that. There's that. I mean, I'm trying to think. I guess the last time we spoke MCU stuff was What If, I think.
We didn't do Hawkeye, did we? Or did we?
I don't think so, no. We were going to, but I think the holidays and, we were both out of town at different points.
Right. Dude, hasn't it been like a year then, or
almost? Because the first thing we ever did was Loki, and that was a little over a year ago. So it's probably, if not been a year, super close since What If, which that's crazy.
That's a long time.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, yeah, we're due then to do a little Marvel conversation for sure. So I guess we could say it's going to be like a Thor video and others.
Yeah, so probably, I mean, for people that keep up with Marvel, they've probably seen everything else, but Thor will be our excuse, but we'll probably use it to just kind of talk about a lot of stuff.
Have you seen Miss Marvel?
Yeah.
Is it good?
It's good. It's not great.
Yeah, okay. All right.
I mean, I'm not trying, it is good, but it's for with the way they're doing MCU stuff, like a lot of stuff is catered towards like specific genres and stuff now. Sure. So this is definitely skewed a bit younger, but it is fun.
Well, the reason I was asking was because I was thinking to myself, okay, do I need to watch that before we do a video if we're going to like all encompass some other content? But I probably won't if it's not that exciting. So.
I mean, I think it's worth a watch eventually, but I wouldn't worry about knocking it out before we watch Thor or anything.
Yeah. Okay. That makes sense.
Okay, cool. Other than that, quick plug again. We are doing a giveaway once we hit 1,000 subscribers on YouTube. We're getting pretty close. I think, I haven't checked recently, but I think we're like 30-ish away from that mark, maybe a little more. So, if you're not subscribed, do us a favor, click that button, and you might come away with a little scratch. And by scratch, I mean Tal'Dorei Reborn.
We don't mean any like illegal drugs or anything. We're talking
unless probably Tal'Dorei Reborn. We still haven't like fully.
I want to find a cool dice set to give.
Ooh.
Yeah, to give that person as well.
Okay, so now we got a whole package form in here. So
it's
don't miss out.
Subs. We can't just do like click to purchase. What's your shipping address? We got to send a little bit of like a personal. It's probably gonna be the person who like subbed like that day. He was like, "Who are these people? I didn't even mean to click on this." They unsub.
Yeah. Right after, but okay, I like that. I think you mentioned that before. I forgot about that, but let's get some dice, and who knows? We'll see. So yeah,
I just think it'd be cool
for sure. So do us a favor, sub if you're not. It really helps us small channels like us out a whole bunch. And we appreciate it, and we just want to give back. Thanks for
Yeah.
we're not there yet, but thanks for helping us get to 1,000 subs. It's exciting.
Yeah. So, well, let's jump in and talk about the episode today.
Let's do it.
Will, you want to start us out?
Yeah. So, again, quick plug for what we do here. We like to recap each and every episode, and we cut that recap out and host it separately just for, ease of viewing for when you want a quick refresh, on Thursday or whatever before the new episode airs. So if you find yourself on just that recap video, but you're interested in hearing Blake and I's thoughts, theories, discussion on the episode proper, just click down below. We'll link it either in the comments or in the description box, and there you can find the full podcast. But without further ado, let's jump into the recap. Let's jump into this week's recap of Critical Role Campaign 3, Episode 27, A Race for the Prize. So we pick up with Bell's Hells plus Dusk at the undercarriage where they are staying for the night. They end up getting 3 rooms total and, decide to split up amongst them. But before we bed down for the night, we have some things happen. There's a lot of discussing and planning how they should approach this Armand Tresky situation and the Paragon's call. Like, how do they want to get in there? Basically, how they want to handle that. And it essentially boils down to Ashton going in under the guise of looking for work via his relationship with Ratanish that they had kind of established at the ball a little whiles back. And if that goes, sideways, basically Death Wish race. We'll do something with that. So the conversation then turns to Fern's postcards, and the group inspects them for any hidden clues. And Chetney leads this investigation and ends up getting a whisper from Matt after rolling pretty high. I don't remember the exact number, but he reveals that he thinks it's strange, like the things he noticed from his investigation, rather. He thinks it's kind of strange that these cards are in such like mint condition, pristine, right. Like none of the corners are bent or anything, and yet Fern has presumably had them for decades. So that just seems kind of strange, almost as if they have not changed hands very much. He also notices that they're all unique, one-of-a-kind creations. They all have, I'm not sure if it's explicitly said that they're painted, but they all have like artworks, handmade artworks on each one, and they're all in the same handwriting as well. So there's a lot of discussion on this, are they really from her parents? Fern does reveal that her Nan does a lot of painting and is a great painter, so it kind of is bubbling up that maybe these postcards were from her grandma. And there's just a lot of speculation on this, and Fern isn't really sure what to make of it, but Orem does point out that, hey, we're meeting with your parents here in a couple days, we can probably find answers then. So that kind of is laid to the side for now. People start splitting up to go to bed at this point, but Imogen asks Laudna if they can talk privately, and they kind of leave everyone else. And Imogen leaves first, and Laudna's following her, but before she can, Dusk kind of pulls her aside and essentially asks her on a date. Laudna is super flustered by this and says, I need time to think about it, basically, while pulling out her hair and everything. So then she leaves and goes and talks to Imogen. And they basically air out all their feelings and kind of hash out this little dispute they've been having ever since the Gnarl Rock incident. They kind of each speak their minds, and they basically reconcile. They like, I've missed you so much too, yada, yada, yada. But at the end of this, they're like, let's pretend we're still mad at each other, though, because, F.C.G. was trying to help me through this. And I think, it would really be great if we could let F.C.G. be the one to resolve things for us, to make F.C.G. feel better. So the two part ways, but as they do, they're like making a big scene about like crying and being like so upset. And F.C.G. sees this, and he like transfers suffering from Laudna and casts calm emotions on her. And then F.C.G. apologizes to Imogen, being like, "Oh, I'm so sorry. I've been distracted. I'm sorry I haven't helped you through this. Like, I'm such a failure." And he begins malfunctioning, kind of stuttering like he does, and also confusing words and ideas and people. And Imogen is like, "Oh my gosh, F.C.G. like you can't prioritize everyone else over yourself. Like, I'm fine. Like, we gotta take care of you. You've been going through so much recently, processing this Dancer revelations, the fact that he's this, ancient Aormaton, And FCG's like, yeah, like I don't know what I am. Like, why did Dancer leave me? Why can't I remember anything if I really am from thousands of years ago? And Imogen just tries to comfort him and is like, we're going to find this out. And FCG just continues to malfunction during this conversation. And one thing in particular is he's like, yeah, we need to reach out to Delilah, when he meant presumably to say Dancer.
Right.
And so that just, triggers a lot in Imogen and Laudna, who's kind of still there hearing this as well. And they're like, okay, we got to get you some rest. Like, we're going to figure this out. And Ashton is also kind of around, and he's like, hey, FCG, let's go to bed. And as they all split up, Imogen tells Fern, who is on first watch, hey, like, keep an eye out on FCG. But one final thing before bed is Orem goes over to Dusk and is like, hey, you're looking kind of frazzled. Are you okay? And basically challenges her to a little sparring match, kind of just, for fun and to kind of get to know each other a bit. And Dusk agrees. And so they have the toy swords that he bought at Taste of Taldori, and they're going to fight to first to 5 hits. So they kind of have this fun little battle. Orem ultimately does win. He's the first one to get to 5 and actually ends on a slap on the ass for his final hit. And they're kind of like having a conversation while this battle happens. But at the end, Orem's like, I don't recognize your fighting style. Like, I assume it's Fae, since that's where you're from. And Dusty's like, yeah, I don't really remember. I don't really remember anything. I just have a few memories of the before, like being a kid, training with other kids, or being on a beach. But really, I'm not sure. Then Dusk, who has just basically asked Laudna on a date, hits on Orem and is like, you want any company tonight, basically? And Orem gets super embarrassed and flustered and, reveals that, I'm actually into guys, and kind of awkwardly takes his leave. So now, with everyone gone their separate ways to go to bed, we have Chetney and Fern, who are on first watch tonight, and they talk a little bit. Fern does check on FCG because of what Imogen said, but nothing really is revealed there or anything. Ultimately, the conversation between Chet and Fern moves to the postcards once more, and they don't really cover any new ground, but Fern does say, well, I haven't told anyone else this part yet. And she actually takes this gem out of her satchel. It's this green gem, and is like, my grandmother gave me this. I'm actually on a secret mission too. Like, I'm supposed to find my parents and give them this gem. So Chetney looks at it, and it's like playing with the light and shadows kind of in a strange way, and you can tell it has some sort of enchantment on it. He's like, oh, fascinating. He gives her the gem back, and then he also gives her the gift he's been carving for her, which is this beautifully carved wolf. And Fern loves it. She's like, this is the favorite thing I own. And he kind of hits on her and is like, it kind of seems like not the best time, but just so you know, I'm here if you're ever, interested. And basically then the watch ends. All the rest of the watches go off without any hitches, and that's where the episode goes to break.
Yeah, so great job, by the way. So, like, as the party gets up, they have a couple of errands they want to run, and then they want to make their way over to the Seat of Disdain to sort of carry out their plan of, because they've been thinking about, like, how are we going to get into the Paragon's Call Citadel, and they really feel like Ashton's connection to Ratanish from the ball is the way to go. Before they do that, FCG does go back to Esmer and picks up a breaching charge, which Orem ends up carrying. And also, they ask Esmer for a description. I think it's Imogen who asks a description of Dancer. And Dancer is described basically of having black hair, olive skin, and a star tattoo on her cheek. The party makes their way over to the Seat of Disdain, and Ashton calls up to the guard and says, hey, send out Tanvir the Rake. We got business. We've been invited. We got some business to talk about. Tanvir does come out with his troop of soldiers, I guess, or Paragon's Call, but also General Ratanish comes out as well, and has a fairly amicable interaction with Ashton, kind of like, hey, yeah, I remember you. And Ashton's basically like, yeah, hey, we're here for work. Like, we want to work for you guys. I'm following up basically on our conversation. And Ratanish basically says, well, around here, if you're going to prove yourself, if you want to prove yourself worthy of joining the Paragon's Call, doing work for us, you either have to fight or you have to race, which we know we've been heading towards this race for a couple episodes now. And so the party chooses, okay, we want to race. And Ratanish actually flips them a coin that's basically like a coupon for, one free scrapper, a loaner vehicle from Imahara Joe to do the race. Before they separate, though, another person comes out who is the leader of the Paragon's Call. And the reason this person's coming out is basically Ratanish is like, yeah, it's not my choice if you're going to be able to join or not. It's really her choice. And like, well, who's this her? And this woman comes out who goes by the name of Adohan Thule. And Ashton is immediately like starstruck by her and rolls a natural 20 on a history check for her. The long and the short of it is that she was a famed warrior during the Apex War a couple of decades earlier and disappeared towards the end of it before reemerging as a person of the Paragon's Call who really rose in the ranks and became its leader. What's really interesting about this character is two things. One, she seems to be wearing these form-fitting leathers and this cloak that's hiding a device on her back with a crystal in it. We know that because Fern decides, in true Fern form, once everything's resolved, Fern decides to basically transform into a rat and scurry up Adohan's back to see what's under the cloak. And not really clear what it is. It has a very much like a jetpack-esque vibe to it, but we don't really know what it is. I will say that as Fern is scurrying away, General Ratanish does clock her, and Dusk basically scoops her up and pretends like it's her pet who got away from her. The other interesting detail is Adohan looks very reminiscent to the woman that Imogen saw in her dream from the episode prior. And immediately they're looking at the sketch that they put together after Imogen's dream. But Laudna rolls so poorly that Matt's like, yeah, you really have no idea. You have no clue, really. So all this to say, the party decides, okay, we're going to race. Let's do this thing. They decide to head to Imahara Joe's to basically trade in this free loaner coin. Before they do that, though, Laudna and Ashton head over to the Old Mines Burn to basically just make sure that Justy is going to make good on their offer to basically watch the group's back. Laudna is immediately a bit restless with the environment. Everyone kind of turning and looking in unison at her. And Justy actually offers to clean out the attic to sort of figure out what's going on in her head, which Laudna doesn't say no to, but she's like, yeah, maybe I might be open to something like that. Justy also hands Ashton this yellow cloth and basically says, hey, tear this up and put it on your two vehicles so that we know not to target you during the race. So it seems like Justy's making good on the fact that they're going to tilt the race in their favor. Party all heads over to Joe's place, and basically he's pretty much wrapping up his, you remember they had paid for their own car, basically. He's pretty much wrapping that one up, and they present the coin, to which he's like, oh yeah, I mean, awesome, I can give you two of them. And they haggle with him to try to get like all sorts of like adjustments with it, like, can we get red, can we get our logo on it? And Matt, I don't know if it was more Matt or Joe, but both of them are just like we're not gonna do that, like we just built the stuff here, we're just engineers, but basically sends them on their way, and they make their way over to, I can't remember if it was like the Bone Tree as the starting point, or if it was just like a key location, but basically they make their way over to the starting spot of the race. And that is where the episode ends, as competitors roll up, and it seems like we are on the cusp of the death race. So that's what happened in episode 27 of this campaign.
Yeah, good job. And again, for anybody that's just watching the recap, if you want to clue into the rest of our discussion, you can find the link below. But without further ado, you know the drill.
I know it.
What'd you think?
So, disclaimer, say it every time. I'm always going to like Critical Role. wasn't a fan of this episode.
Ooh.
I was pretty bored. I mean, I'm gonna watch these guys play D&D every week, and I'm gonna enjoy it. I'm gonna love it. There's a couple of reasons why, and I'll try not to be long-winded, so I'm not like going on a long rant. Two things. One, there's three things actually. One, the stakes created in Calamity has just made an episode like this one, where it's very much, it was this episode, and then I guess maybe 2 episodes ago. The slow drip has really made me miss the intense stakes of Calamity, and the sense of like, dude, what is going to happen next week? And part of this is like just long form storytelling. Like, obviously, it'd be a bit, if every episode is insane, like then really none of them are, if that makes sense. Like,
yeah, it's not like a sustainable thing.
Exactly. You kind of have to jump the shark to keep it going. But I am finding myself a little impatient and hungry for like the next big development. So there's that. 2, it just didn't feel like much really happened in the 4-hour episode. Like, I was kind of like, dude, how long are we going to plan this thing? Like, let's, and also the plan doesn't really make that much sense. And then 3, and I don't know if other people feel this way or not. I haven't really seen any comments about it. This is just total personal opinion. This sort of like industrial steampunk-esque vibe I'm having a tough time like placing it in the world of Exandria that prior to this campaign has always been high fantasy for me. And so, and I think kind of the disconnect is something like, we watch something like Avalier, which is like the peak of technology. And yet there's this odd, like, implied advancement past that, in that there's cars. Like, yeah, we have a car. It's like a junk rat race or some kind. And we, having said that, I'm not against that. I don't dislike the vibe of it. It's just like a weird dissonance with like what my experience has been with Exandria, and then this world, like the specific region. It doesn't mesh well with me. It's like from, I guess, like 2 episodes or 3 episodes ago, where they're like, yeah, we need a car. I was like, wait, there's cars in Exandria? Like, why aren't they everywhere? Like, why hasn't it been like proliferated everywhere? Like, surely this is way better than any other technology you can. I mean, I don't know. But so that's my 3 reasons why I feel like I'm finishing a paper now. I restate what I said, but yeah, I don't know, man. I like tilting between disliked and liked it. I liked it. I always will. Probably my least favorite episode, though.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, those are fair criticisms. And I mean, I'm assuming you were just using the word car because that's what they use, but it's obviously not like a literal car. It's just like a little crawly
we're not
boy.
Gonna, but on the same token, though, I don't think it's going to be like a because it's a race,
Yeah, like a little spider.
It's going to be, I think it's going to be a little Wild Wild West-esque.
Yeah.
And not like fully Mad Maxian.
Right.
So yeah, I'm with you there for sure.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, all fair points. I do understand the disconnect in the high fantasy versus this kind of steampunk vibe. I will say that, from campaign 1 to where we are now, the technology has been on a steady what's the word I'm looking for? Incline, I guess. Upward. Yeah, increase, I guess.
It's going up.
So like, I especially, everything I say here is not to like discredit your feelings, because I get that. But from my perspective, I kind of like the kind of slow burn increase we've had in technology, like since campaign 1, sure, where it was like pure high fantasy. The only tech was Percy, who had a gun, but like he's the one that invented them. So like, it flowed. So it's kind of been cool to kind of see the ripple effects of like Percy's gun. Now they're everywhere in the world. And I don't think these two are tied, but the Aomaton from campaign 2 now kind of leading to a bit more proliferation of tech across Exandria. But clearly Bosseros was this kind of steampunky place, I think, before even the Aomaton snowball. But anyway, I digress. I my thoughts on the episode. Of course, liked it like we always are going to. I do agree that it was one of the slower, if not slowest, episodes so far of the campaign. Um, but these episodes happen. I mean, you kind of spoke to it, how, Calamity, 4 episodes are just jam packed, high stakes the whole time, full octane. Across 120 episodes, you're going to have these slower episodes. And so, like, it's par for the course. So in these types of episodes, I can really cling to like the cool character moments. And what I'll say is specifically Sam, this episode with that like breakdown he had, that was like one of my favorite moments, like character moments of the whole campaign so far. I just am so blown away by like the choices Sam makes. And I mean, we can talk about this right now, but I know I'm just kind of like in my review right now, so I don't want to like wax too poetically on this yet. But just how he turned like a joke into one of the most like hard hitting moments, like, oh, like let's pretend to still be mad at each other so we can like give F.C.G a thumbs up. And he like just completely flipped that on them. I was like, man, that's just so good. Like, teach me, Sam.
Yeah.
But so all that to say is definitely a slow episode. I can definitely get with people on why they're like, yeah, not my cup of tea. But for me personally, I can kind of like cling to those moments and still have had a good time.
No, yeah, and I like I said, I'm between disliking and liking. I tilt towards liking, obviously. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, yeah, I feel like we're somewhat on the same page. So
yeah, definitely a slow episode, and definitely like across since we've come back post EXU Calamity, there's been a whole bunch of analysis paralysis. So I feel like it's kind of been hard to get going again, really. And which it's a stark contrast from, like you mentioned, the stakes there to being back at a,
it's
longer
a bit,
narrative.
Yeah, it's a bit weird. And I don't think it's like any kind of critique to anyone in general, because, tables often like can devolve into this where it's like it's just hard to like move the story forward because there are so many like moving parts. I think any of us who've actually played at a table, like we recognize like, yeah, it's been like a month since we've actually had anything happen.
Yeah.
But having said that, yeah, I think Bossaros in general has drug a little bit, and I don't think it's anyone's fault. I just think it's like a little bit of a weird awkwardness of from the moment Ashton mentioned at their first arrival to Bossaros, hey, is death ray still a thing? And even so much after that, it was like we were always heading towards the death race. And I think for Matt, not wanting to railroad into like we are going to do the race, but to like still create the path where they could reach there. I think that freedom combined with the party's inability to make like quick decisions is why it's really like drug on as much as it has. I mean, I think even Erica, as Dusk, was like, hey, we could just do it and just, make the most of it if you want.
Yeah.
It seems like it worked out before. But yeah, I don't think anyone's like to blame, so to speak. But yeah. I think there's just been a combination of things that have just kind of made this whole arc. It's for me, it has felt like it's kind of fizzled in terms of like the intensity of let's get after Treshy, let's get our guy. So yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, not the least of which was a 6-week break, like right dab at the start of it.
Right. Again, a 6-week break with an incredibly intense story.
Yeah.
It's I think in hindsight, we'll look at this arc a little bit more positively because it'll be kind of like a resetting point. Like I think we talked about this around like episode 23 or 24, whenever they went down into the mines and fought the Broodmother. And I was like, okay, now I feel good leaving Dressar. Mm-hmm. Like now I feel like we've tied up some loose ends. And in a way, it was like a resetting point. Like, we've hit sort of the climax of this story point. We have the falling action, and then, and then now we start off the next story point. So I think in hindsight, we'll look at it more positively. It just feels a bit, it just feels slow being in it, I guess.
Yeah. And sorry, we just keep waxing poetically on this, but it has been slow. It absolutely has been. But on the same turn, like we have had a bunch of bombs, like Fern's parents,
Yeah.
Dancer being alive, confirmation that F.C.G is an Aormaton. There's something else that I'm forgetting, but like there's been a lot of very interesting there's been a lot of very interesting things happening. I think it's just kind of, so I'm not trying to discredit any of that. It's just, I don't know. I guess it's just, I think some of it is also rust from coming off the long break, you know? I don't know. Now I don't know. I'm not trying to sound like too defensive because neither of us are complaining, but you know what I mean? I don't know.
Yeah. You guys have to let us know in the comments what you think. Like, how's your take been? What's been your reaction? Because I think in general we are still enjoying campaign 3 and looking forward to every Thursday night.
Oh yeah, of course.
But yeah, would love to know what you guys think for sure. Maybe we could just jump in. You even mentioned F.C.G a second ago. Maybe we could stop by there. Totally agree. Sam Riegel is a freaking genius. Britton Lee Mulligan gave him a huge compliment in the Calamity wrap up of giving the perfect joke.
Yeah.
That whole, I love how Sam has found creative ways to take like a simple, this is just beautiful creativity. You take a concept and rather than just like popping up again and again, because he could have just kept having like the mental malfunctions where he stammers or can't finish the sentence, and it's by the 5th or 6th time we're like, oh yeah, there's that again.
Yeah.
I just love how Sam, this is just so beautifully creative, was able to see the opportunity to ratchet it up and make it even more interesting. Take like the same concept but spin it a different way. Because the first moment he said Delilah, I don't know if I texted you or something, but I was like, wait, what?
Yeah.
And then he mentioned like Orem's tattoo and like all these things, and I was like, okay. But very interesting for sure. And props to Sam.
Yeah, for sure. He always I was about to call him like the master of that, which I think he is, but obviously everyone in the group has amazing RP moments, but Sam just in particular is able to like kind of get in that like little tiny hole and bust it open like in a way you maybe wouldn't expect. And so yeah, that was definitely my favorite moment of the whole episode. He can't keep getting away with it, but no.
What do you think's going on with them? I mean, is it a mishmash of pre-Calamity thoughts that are like, what do you think's happening with him?
I think it's definitely, he's an Aormaton from long time ago and probably had a whole life, and whatever we want to call it, I'm just going to call it a whole life. His original Aormaton programming, let's say, and now like we don't know what's happened in this ginormous interim between there and where Dancer booted him back online or whatever. Presumably Dancer made some of her own tinkering, right? And I don't remember who said it. It might have been Joe, or it might have been Esmer, or it might have been somebody else. But somebody recently said, when asked, like they asked someone about, what do you think's wrong with F.C.G? Somebody said, I think it might be like competing. Like there's two things, like there's too much stuff in him, and he doesn't know like which operating system to be. Right. These is all my words here, but which operating system to listen to, essentially. So to me, I think that's, to put it simply, is what's going on with him. There's like the real F.C.G. and like not that the current one is fake, but you know what I mean. Like there's two wolves inside every robot, and which one you feed, I don't know, but to me it's that there's conflicting programming. He has this full life of memories that he can't fully access, and I think that's what's causing the.
That was very time is a weird soup.
Thanks.
There's two wolves within every robot.
But yeah, I mean, for my money, that's what it is. It is interesting that we also know of this secret system that Sam and Matt are playing with, where we don't 100% have this confirmed, but it seems like natural ones are something he denotes, but also natural 20s, not his own. Like his friends' natural 20s, he is also keeping track of. And this is probably nothing, but Sam verbatim said at one point, like, I had this whole life, of successes and failures. And I just thought that was probably nothing, but knowing Sam, that might have been some sort of like glib kind of like, hey, like, look what I'm planting here. Yeah. And so I just think it's interesting that he has been tracking successes and failures literally. So I don't really have the
answer,
the thing that puts this all together that makes a nice little picture, but clearly something is brewing in the background there, and I'm still interested to see if it just blows up at some point because of natural ones or because of whatever, or if it'll only get some sort of answer when he's like fixed, for lack of a better word.
Dancer seems like the one to be able to do it, and it seems like Dancer may not be far. So they may be running into Dancer before they head back to Dressar, which they have. I guess they have a month before they have to be back. So
yeah, and it's interesting. Did Dancer on that caravan, was F.C.G operational, or was F.C.G just a hunk of metal that Dancer then rehabilitated? What I'm getting at is, did Dancer block those memories and stuff on purpose?
I think so. I think, to, seeing the opportunity of having an Aormaton and knowing also that the breadcrumb of lore that Matt gave of how Aormatons had become sentient and had basically become their own citizens, like in a very Detroit Become Human kind of way. Mm-hmm. There's all the reason for Dancer to block that, to effectively keep F.C.G subservient to her.
Yeah.
And like, I built you. You're my creation. You belong to me. These are direct contrasts to what we know is true about Aormatons. And we also have gotten some details that maybe Dancer isn't as like benevolent creator-esque as maybe F.C.G has described her. So, I mean, I can see her doing that to, protect her investment, so to speak.
I could absolutely see that too. I'm on the fence though about where I stand, because we definitely have had, I don't know if it was the comments from, I guess it was the comments from both Joe and Esmer, but that kind of, she wasn't necessarily the nicest tool in the shed. But then I think it was Imogen, I think it was Esmer, whoever she asked about what does Dancer look like, she also asked, are they a good person?
Right.
And, Esmer said, like, everybody's kind of got their shit, but like compared to this place, she's a great person. So true. That kind of, I was like heavily in the column of she's manipulative and, whatever. That made me kind of shot me back over a bit. And maybe it's just like, oh, she's just a person, we all have our, it's gray, not black and white. So because of that, I'm kind of on the fence on if she intentionally like blocked F.C.G's memories, or if perhaps she just got him like defunctional and she fixed him, but like her fixing of him got him to his current state and not unlocked the true memories or whatever.
Right.
So I don't know where I land, but I want to know. So hopefully we see Dancer soon.
Yeah, it may not be too far off, and it does feel like a lot could happen in the next few episodes. Treshy, Fern's parents, Dusk and the Sorrow Lord, Dancer. I mean, there's a lot of interesting threads there that seem like, they're spinning off the wheel very quickly.
Yeah, for sure. And then Odahan and the connection to Ruidus and stuff. Blake and I were texting during the episode at that part, and I don't know if I like maybe was talking to my girlfriend or something happened, but I missed, like, I saw the table like react when Matt described Odahan, and I was like, wait, like, who is this? What did I miss? And seemingly it's because the description matched the woman in the dream,
because it was the gray hair like pulled off to the side, with the dark leathers, which
That's
was like almost verbatim the woman in Imogen's dream.
Yeah. So, I mean, not to shift us there if we were still on F.C.G, but I don't even know what to make of that. Like, unless like she is also Ruidus born, and you know something we've talked about earlier is maybe like these people are being puppeted, or maybe they're doing it of their own free will. But she seems to be at least in Imogen's dream, the like leader. So what's she doing with the Paragon's call? What's the connection here? Maybe there's not one explicitly, but I did not expect that. Like that was the last thing I expected, was for this person to be the one from Imogen's dream.
Yeah, I mean, and it's still may not be, but definitely.
True.
I mean, it could be a red herring from Matt to just pull us off that scent, but yeah, and also the detail of disappearing at the end of the Apex War and reappearing later. It's like, where did she go? What happened to her? Yeah, definitely a whole nother plot thread now. That's like, well, where does, and frankly, feels like another slow drip. I mean, it doesn't feel like we're gonna get any progress there anytime soon. But yeah, definitely wondering what's happening there. And I called it very jetpack-esque. It seems like we're getting like a jetpack vibe on her back. I don't know what your take was, but
yeah, the first thing I thought was she similarly was wearing a bomb like Orym was.
Yeah.
That was like my first instinct, but since no one ever like, I feel like if that was the case, that would have, like, Matt would have described, oh yeah, this is what Orym's wearing. So I'm guessing it's not that. But so yeah, jetpack would be awesome. I mean, I think it's definitely some sort of cool steampunk magic infused, probably homebrew situation that Matt came up with. So I mean, anyone's guess is as good as mine, but I really like the jetpack idea. I think that would be really cool.
Yeah. Which, Chekhov's gun, we're gonna see it, right?
Oh yeah, we got to.
Mean,
yeah.
I mean, it's got to pop up, I guess, in this next episode. Shout out to Fern though. That line when Adhan was leaving, she was like, before she goes, and literally the entire party,
like, what?
Yeah, everyone at the table was like, Fern, give me a freaking break.
What
are you kidding
doing?
me? Yeah, and just it's like, where do you think this is gonna go, right? And
she got away with it.
She did. So yeah,
there was some crazy natural 20s from Talus in there.
Yep. He had 2, right?
Yeah. One was on the history check or whatever, and then
right.
the history or the persuasion check. That's right.
Right.
Talk about firing when it matters.
Yeah.
But okay, so Odahan is like this like local legend, big hero is not the right word, but like hero for lack of
warrior.
Yeah, sure. Warrior. It disappeared and now has reappeared. I mean, I think the easy line to draw would be whatever's going on with Ruidus is probably what was going on during that disappearance.
Right.
Now, and I'm kind of pulling things together with no actual proof here, but if these Ruidus people are being like puppeted or harnessed or controlled for their abilities, because it seems like something is like after Imogen, like the people in the dream like want her. So right. I think the easy conclusion for me to draw is because they are Ruidus born, we know she's a spellcaster, has magical abilities. Like there's some like something special about her and these other people that are experiencing this. So maybe they are being harnessed in order to achieve something, some sort of ritual, like who knows what it is. If that's all true, which I know that's a lot to just pile in the cart, then maybe Odahan is also one of these people, and during that disappearance, like they got her. Like whoever's behind the Ruidus thing got her. And maybe she's still just like herself, and maybe you can just choose to be a part of this if you want, and like she still has full agency. But maybe that disappearance, as that happened, she's now full on Ruidus soldier, and has now risen to the top of this powerful mercenary group, and is probably using that position of power, I would assume, to orchestrate more in favor of getting whatever the hell is going on with Ruidus like off the ground, like using that station to further the Ruidus goals.
So then is the Ruidus goals to put the Paragon's Call into Dressar? Because like that was like their main mission, right?
That's
prior
true,
to Treshy
yeah.
being outed. It's like, why Dressar?
And oh man, yeah, and the broomstone all beneath it. Like, is there some ritual where like Drusar's flowing up to Ruidus or something? I don't know, probably not, but yeah, I mean, I think these things could all be connected to some. We know there's some grand scheme at play, and I feel like it goes beyond just Treshy trying to rise the ranks, right? I feel like there's something even pulling his strings, for lack of a better word. So maybe it is Oton, maybe it is Ruidus.
We did talk about this about probably 10 episodes ago of like, is Treshy the main guy, or is he like, you know, a cog in the machine? You know, is he just probably in his mind sees himself as the main guy, but as someone else? And we talked a little bit about, you know, is he working the Nightmare King, or is the Nightmare King working him?
Right.
I agree with you. It does feel definitely third party-esque, like someone else is working him, working the whole, whether that's Otahan or someone else.
Yeah.
Someone from Ruidus. I don't know, but yeah, it feels like the only way we get any more progress with this Otahan character is just like a full-blown conversation. Like her getting involved somehow in a conversation and finding out a little bit of history there. What's her motivation? What's she doing? Especially the link with Imogen. Like, I'm really intrigued by that for sure.
Me too. I wonder, like, what would have happened if Imogen was one of the ones there? Like, would Otahan have recognized her? You know,
because she wasn't there.
Which is kind of unfortunate because, you know, Lana didn't roll high enough to recognize. So I'm sure they'll not metagame, but I'm sure that will come up sooner than later, that like they'll somehow make the connection, even though Imogen wasn't there and Lana didn't recognize that is at least a really similar looking person. And I wonder what they'll do with that information, because I mean, we're about to have the race, and then one way or the other, they're at least going to try to get Treshy, right? So it's hard to imagine with them getting Treshy that things are going to be at all amicable between the Paragon's Call and Bell's Hells. So like, I don't know how that conversation is basically ever going to happen at this point. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, between like Imogen potentially talking to Otahan about any of this, because they're probably going to be adversarial from this point on.
Right. I don't know, man. We'll just have to see. We'll have to see if next episode will be the death race entirely, or if the race will happen and there'll be like some time for other things afterwards.
Yeah, I bet so. I bet the race will only be at most like a half of the episode.
Yeah, maybe like up to break or something.
Yeah.
And then the next half then would be, I mean, presumably if everything all goes well, them infiltrating because there was a couple of conversations on this can get us like the credibility we need to infiltrate the Paragon's Call, the Seat of Disdain. But then there was also a comment maybe from Ashton on, while we're creating a distraction of the race, people could infiltrate.
Yeah.
But I think they threw that out and went full blown like credibility angle, I'm pretty sure. But it feels very clunky though, because like as soon as Treshy runs into them, surely he's going to remember
the ball.
These people. Yeah, the ball. Right. So it's kind of like, what's our plan here? What are we doing?
Yeah, true. And like, so let's say they win the race. They kind of get their foot in the door, grab Treshy and run. Or I wonder if there even is on the table, like getting in so good with the Paragon's Call that they would just give up Treshy. Like, I wonder if that's even possible.
These people are total strangers. I just don't.
Yeah,
I don't see it. But maybe the Paragon's Call is like secretly indignant to Treshy, sort of like, you know, despite him being the one to kind of like bring them into Dressar, him also because of his shenanigans being the reason that, you know, that's totally tabled for now. So there could be like some secret indignation that maybe something like that happens, but But yeah, I don't know.
I feel like he's pretty expendable to them, honestly, especially now that he's on the run. Like, you know, I don't know how much he can really do for them at this point. So I feel like I don't think they're just going to give him over or anything, but to me, I don't see them caring too much about him from this point onward. But that could be the complete opposite of the truth, especially if there is this greater orchestrated scheme going on that he's integral.
Well, and maybe you're right, and maybe he sold the ring because he needed some money to pay the Paragon's call, and was kind of like, hey, when I get back on top, there'll be plenty more where that came from. Yeah, I don't know. So maybe they are kind of like, you know, it's the roommate that like won't move out yet. You're just like, man, you're still here.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
It'll be interesting to see. And yeah, I'm just super intrigued by is it Odahan? I don't want to keep saying the wrong thing. Yeah. Is that right? Okay.
Yeah. I think
super Odahan. Super intrigued.
I don't know.
That sounds like the guy from Metal Gear Solid, kind of. What's that guy's name?
Otacon?
Yeah. Is that him? Is that one of them?
Otacon.
Yeah.
It's not Octagon. it's Otacon, yeah.
Otacon, okay.
Octacon.
Is he the one? Man, which one was he?
He's the scientist who's like, do you think love can bloom on the battlefield?
Oh, yeah.
All Snake's like, I'm going to go kill this person. So,
fun fact, I don't know if it's fair to say we played it together, but Blake and I have been friends for a very long time. I remember like having a sleepover at your house and playing through that game. And
really?
Yeah.
That's cool.
The part that really sticks out, and this kind of just sticks out.
But you don't.
Oh, cool.
You don't remember seeing Titan AE, so it's okay.
This is a total tangent, but still stuck with me to this day how cool I thought this was that the game did it. But the whole Psycho Mantis thing, reading your memory card,
that
was just so ahead of its time, I feel like.
But back then, I just have this random joke in my head because he reads your save file, then also mentions like the other games you've played.
Yeah.
And I just have this running joke in my head of like, you've played something like totally like 18 plus. And he's like, Bikini Babes. And you're like, I don't, it's like the Austin Powers. Like, I swear,
I
it's
didn't
not
play
mine. That. My brother plays this. We share it.
Good times.
It says Blake's save file.
Oh, man.
Anyway. Yes. So anyway.
What were we talking about? Odahan. Odahan. Just, yeah, again, like I said, that really caught me out of left field. Like, I just didn't expect that. And we kind of touched on this, I think, in maybe our last podcast, but it's kind of crazy, like, how many reveals we've been getting recently is for across different characters, too. So, like, different story threads. You know, we got F.C.G. stuff, we got Imogen stuff, Laudna stuff. It's just, I don't know. I'm so interested to see which string gets pulled next, and which, if any, are connected at some point.
It does feel like everyone's like in a crock pot together, and they're all like, you know, we're sort of simmering each person's story, like slow burning it. And I would be okay with someone's story coming to the forefront and getting resolved, and it'd be like a massive like story arc. Which, you know, doesn't then like put that person on the sidelines. You know, there's like maybe some post development after the fact. But I think that kind of speaks more to like my impatience of, it's really fun getting those little lore drops for each character, but I'm also like, okay, like what, like where does that go? And again, I think in hindsight, it's all going to get viewed very positively. Because I'm assuming in campaign 1, there were probably plenty of moments like these where you're like, you know, oh, what is that going to lead to?
Yeah.
But anyway, I don't know what episode was like the Briarwood fight or in the Ziggurat, but
yeah.
I know I watched up to like episode 15 or 20 and it hadn't happened yet. So
yeah, so that's basically how it works is, you know, we'll follow one character's like narrative thread for a while, and then that'll get resolved and move on to somebody else. And it's not like that character is just frozen in time and doesn't develop anymore, but their like main story that they're going to get has been concluded. And then obviously, you know, like the big bad probably kind of not necessarily ties to their intricate backstories, but you know what I mean? Like just because their main like backstory thread finishes doesn't mean that like we might as well just ignore this character now. But yeah, what's just interesting is that like I don't know whose were following next? Because it feels like we
Right.
could go a number of ways, but it seems like probably Fern.
Fern or F.C.G. I think Ashton were going to get like a breadcrumb, like maybe on their way out of town, they pop into the orphanage for a second. But yeah, it does feel like I'd say Fern, then F.C.G., and then maybe Imogen. I think Imogen's, you and I have seemed like we're on the same page here, is maybe Imogen's like the overarching story.
Yeah.
But yeah, Fern, we got the detail. We seemingly got confirmation that the detail from the first season of EXU, that the cards were fake, or written from her Nana, seemingly confirmed, which was cool. But secondly, we got the detail of the green crystal, which was interesting because you and I have been talking about what's her mission, because she's been saying like she can't go home till, and this goes back to EXU season 1, I can't go home until like my job's done. And we've been like, well, what's your job? Like, what are you supposed to be doing?
Yeah.
And she seemingly said, I think she said like, I'm supposed to, like, this is to help save the world. I'm supposed to give this to my parents when I find them. What was your, we haven't heard this Jim mentioned before, right? Yeah. So what was your take on that whole thing?
Well, first I thought it was awesome because it was nice to kind of to have an answer to that thing we've been wondering since EXU. And not that I didn't think there would ever be one, but part of you wonders if, oh, that was just something Ashley said off the cuff in the moment of like, oh yeah, I'm on a mission, you know? But it's cool to know that like even back then she was like, she's had this stone that she's been trying to find her parents and give it to them. As to what it is, I don't know, because it makes it, because we know, or I guess we still don't know, but signs are pointing to the fact that her grandma was lying and about her parents and writing the letters and stuff. But at least we do know that her parents are doing something. So like maybe her grandmother was telling the truth, but the postcards were a lie. You know, it's kind of hard. Like we don't know how to parse everything yet, but I don't know. A part of me wonders if we know the Unseelie Court and Dusk are after the Callaways and are interested in this Moontide crown.
Right.
Part of me is wondering if the gem is connected to that at all. Like it's a gem and not a crown, but maybe what powered the crown was this gem, and now the gem is like, maybe that's the real valuable part of it. So my mind went there. Is it that, or does it have something to do with that? We know her parents are clearly using power sources for something. Right. They do have some mission, whether it's the noble mission the grandmother spoke of or not, we don't know. We know the Nightmare King is using power sources for similar things. Presumably we got Ruidus up to something. So and this is a lot of what ifs again, but if there is like this big bad overarching Ruidus plot, maybe the Callaways and Morgan are one of the first line of defense against it. And maybe whatever they're doing is like the other side prepping for whatever Ruidus has got coming. So maybe that's kind of a long shot, but maybe it's all tied into that. But as to what the gem actually is or anything, I mean, your guess is as good as mine. But what did you think?
No, yeah, I loved everything you just said. I mean, I'm just kind of tracking it and analyzing it too. I can totally see some of these things playing out. The detail we didn't mention last episode was I rewatched the episode with Joy, or just certain parts of it, with my wife, and I missed the detail of the Sorrow Lord Zethuda saying Seminar grows impatient. So I missed it because I didn't have it was on YouTube after the fact, and the subtitles were on. So Seminar is one of the Archfays, I think, of the Unseelie Court. So it does seem like, I know last episode we talked about like, is this like a rogue actor? And it does seem like much larger than that. Regarding the gym, what I'm trying to play over in my head, it seems like Matt has an appreciation for the story that Abria told in EXU, in that the details given there have been so far as we've seen, have been carried forward into canon.
Yeah.
So the detail that it just keeps popping up for me is the modify memory that happened to Fern. We know in season 1, she had a memory, and you have to help me because it's been a while since I've seen it. She has a memory of Morgan, her Nana, walking her to the gate, you know, being like, you're going to be on this mission, yada, yada. And her realizing, I guess it was like a high roll, that memory had been placed there. I don't remember what the authentic memory was, but bottom line, Fern is a bit of an unreliable narrator in terms of what she's doing, why she's doing it. She has a gym. Her Nana has told her, you need to get it to your parents. Why she couldn't take it herself, we don't know. But that detail is untrustworthy to me because of that modified memory. And I don't know, I haven't quite landed what I think of it or what's going on there.
Yeah, it doesn't. Well, first, the memory I don't fully remember either, but I feel like, and I'll probably go back and watch it, but for the sake of our conversation right now, I feel like she was remembering coming to Exandria, and she was like, I was just kind of here, like we just kind of walked and I was here, and so I feel like the peel back, I feel like her walking with her grandmother might have been the real memory, but I don't say that with confidence. So that might have been the fake one, and I don't remember what the real one was either.
Well, yeah, right.
But in any case, a memory was modified. Like, we know that much, and that's just suspicious in and of itself, right? And I don't know. The part that doesn't really add up to me, though, is that we know her. Well, I guess I shouldn't say no, because it's possible that Dark Fern is lying, right? It is possible that those letters are from the parents somehow. Like, maybe they're just not damaged at all because they're magical. But or did they detect magic on them?
They're not magical. They did detect magic on them.
Okay.
Twice, actually.
I mean, so we don't know, but it seems like the grandmother was lying and the grandma is the one that wrote those letters. Which, if she then gave Fern this gem to go find her parents, why not tell her the truth at that point? Isn't that kind of weird to like send your granddaughter on a mission when she doesn't have the correct facts going into it,
Yeah.
I mean, I guess if there's seeds of truth that still, like, her parents are gone, they are doing something, maybe no need to tell Fern the truth. Maybe because, it's
maybe,
still just...
Well, maybe, and this is a total long shot, maybe it's less about finding the parents. Like, maybe Morgan's presumption is that you're not going to find your parents, but I need to send you, it's the carrot on the stick. I need to send you on a mission to get you out of here.
Yeah.
Like, you're not going to come
home
out
of here too.
Exactly. And so maybe it's more about the gym leaving the Feywild than it is actually finding the parents. And so the charge of go find your parents, help them save the world is like, Fern's not going to say no to that.
Right.
That's a total long shot in my mind.
I like that.
But, that's kind of where I go to.
I like that. So yeah, that checks out to me. And help me remember here, who brought up the Moontide Crown eventually? Was it Dusk's person that was talking?
Yes.
To Dusk?
Right. Yeah.
And they're after it, right? Or am I making that up? Or was it just referenced?
Well, yeah, it just says, what's the status on the Moontide Crown? Okay. And she basically says, like, she also adds a detail. We did mention this last episode. She says that the Sorrow Lord says, I'm growing impatient. Like, remember, you're not the only one on this mission.
Right.
And Dusk says, well, I'm the only one who's gotten this close. So we may, in kind of like a, oh man, what's the movie with Keanu Reeves? Where he's the assassin, John Wick, in kind of a John Wick-esque way. Maybe we'll start having like these other people, like assassins and, whoever popping up all of a sudden, which would be crazy, but I don't know.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, clearly the Moontide Crown, whether it's that gem or whether it's something else, maybe her parents have it. They want it for some reason. Seems like it's a powerful artifact. Who knows what for? Maybe it's somewhat tied to Ruidus. Maybe it has absolutely nothing to do with Ruidus. But yeah, I don't know. This is kind of... I don't even know where I just thought of this. But we also know that people didn't know Fern existed.
Yeah, that's super weird to me.
Could Fern be the Moontide Crown? Is it possible that like a person could like... Whatever purpose that fulfills, like maybe... It is Fern.
Maybe. I don't know. I mean...
Oh, one other thing that you reminded me of. So back to EXU. And again, if you guys didn't see EXU, we do have recaps on our channel if you're interested. Or just watch it because it seems to be having a lot of relevant effects on the current campaign. But referencing the same moment that we've referenced many times is Fern comes into contact with like a dark version of herself. And that dark version is the one that said the letters are from Grandma. She's been lying. What also happens in this moment is Dark Fern is wearing or carrying a crown. And we're led to believe that it is the Spider Queen's crown that like the whole EXU basically is about. But what if that crown is the Moontide crown?
I like that detail for sure.
It was just kind of like a bait and switch.
Yeah.
And like maybe if Fern fails, if her parents fail, this is what happens. Like Fern gets corrupted, or I don't know. But just the fact that there are two crowns made me be like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
What if?
Well, and that's a great call out. And there's also the detail, the connection with Calamity of the War Queen of the Burning Veil, Elminor, who I think Dark Fern was working for.
It seemed it seemed that way. We saw her, right? We saw Elminor through the door. I don't know if they ever necessarily like communicate. Like, I don't know if Dark Fern and her like were shown speaking to each other.
I think it was implied because like as the door was shutting or something.
Yeah.
It was like, no, like in a Darth Vader-esque, you know.
Yeah, which Elminor is the Sealy Court, right?
Shoot, man, I don't know.
I think so. So it's just interesting that like all this, for lack of a better term here, bad guy energy with like Dark Fern and stuff wouldn't be connected to Saruman or whatever the other guy's name is.
I guess in some ways we don't know like the politics of the Feywild.
Yeah.
I mean, like, this is gonna sound like so American to say, but like in Britain, you know who like the prime minister is? Do you know who anyone else is? Probably not. You know, and so, you know, I know Angela Merkel from Germany, and I know no one else from that country. And so like so I could theoretically, if like the Sealy and Unsealy court are on like two different sides of the Feywild, I could maybe see them not knowing that there is a daughter. But it's still a bit clunky for me. So. Yeah.
I mean, I think it's definitely intentional though. Like, you know, right. I don't think it's just like a sloppiness. But it definitely is very interesting. So yeah, I don't know. But I guess moving to dusk, if we can, just Eric is sneaky, man.
Little horn dog.
Yeah, trying to get with everybody, but also
I think that's also You know, we're on the same page, right? Like trying to work people, you know, build some alliances there. I mean,
yeah, part of the cover too. You know, just this is just a bubbly horn dog. You know, I think Dusk really does want to get some, but I also think it's definitely like kind of weaponized as well.
Weaponized, get some.
That's right. I'm sure you noticed this, but in case you didn't, you know, Erica, when Laudna and Imogen went to have their private conversation, Erica rolled and then started texting Matt, and Matt and her texted back and forth.
Yeah, what was that all about?
My best guess is that she was eavesdropping, and that was maybe a stealth check or a perception check to kind of just see what they were talking about. Or if not on them, was stealthing around or eavesdropping on somebody else. I guess we won't know. But she like got Matt's attention and was like, and they started texting back and forth. And then I'm not confident on this part, but it seemed like Matt maybe texted Liam after that. And it might be because of his super high like perception.
Yeah.
And then shortly after, Liam confronts Dusk and they have their little battle. So that might have been more than just Orem being nice, you know, that might have been him probing. So I'm just real interested to see what all unfolded there. Like what exactly, and we might find this out in the talk show or, you know, at some point down the road. But what Erica was up to in that moment and what Liam did or didn't know. But yeah, I mean, again, I just said this, but my best guess would be that she was eavesdropping, but it would be super interesting if she was maybe like going through their things or something while she knew they were away. So I just didn't know if you parsed that or what you thought might be going on there.
I saw it. I didn't even think about it though. I was like, oh, that's interesting. And then it puts together some disconnects for me in the sense of like Orem being the great guy he is, being like, hey, you seem kind of down. That detail kind of pieces it a little bit better for me of there being maybe a little bit more of a breadcrumb there.
Mm-hmm.
And it almost feels like the starting of the party getting a little bit wise on Dusk. Like,
yeah.
And I don't know. It's the fact that she's hit on Orem and Laudna both. I don't know how to phrase this. It's like when you have a friend that like you spend some time with, and then you start being like, all right, so what's going on here? Like, what are you getting at? Like, you start like thinking about like motivations and stuff. And so I feel like the party is starting to kind of just think like, not necessarily like what's going on with Dusk, but just like just, I don't know. Like, I can't even articulate it. Just like, it just feels like she's going, I guess the way I put it is it feels like she's going a little bit on the offensive now with the party and being more offensive, and like, which of course she would, because she's basically been given like a time clock from the Sorrow Lord. And I just wonder how much that is getting clocked by the party, I guess is what I'm saying.
Yeah, me too. And
because I'm sorry to keep going, by the way.
No.
Now the formal ask out date from Laudna is it's a better detail now to Imogen a couple episodes earlier being jealous, which, at the time was, it's a harmless friendship. Now it's like maybe Dusk was trying to
like drive a wedge.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I feel like it was really messy, everything I just said.
No, I'm with you. Yeah, I mean, it's cool to see these kind of machinations in play, and both in character and out of character, what the party is picking up on, just because Laura notices Erica being strange doesn't mean that Imogen notices Dusk is, you know what I'm saying? And kind of on that subject, I think we talked about it last episode, since they're pre-recording the episodes, what like is the cast gonna see on Twitter somebody being like, oh my god, Erica's like a bad guy, and they're gonna have it ruined? I saw somebody ask Matt that, and he responded, and I don't remember what he said verbatim, but it was essentially that like, no, like they know to, not, they're good about not gonna be seeing that type of stuff. So he didn't really elaborate beyond that, because I mean, clearly they're on Twitter, but I guess they're probably trying to do a good job of just not looking at the hashtags or something, I guess. So good to know that there is some proactive thought there, and hopefully
Dusk is a traitor hashtag.
Yeah.
I wonder what that could be. I'm not going to follow that thread.
Exactly.
Dusk wants to kill Fern. Anyway, yeah. Well, is there anything else from this episode you want to talk about?
Let me just check or look at my notes here real quick. We talked about Sam's master RP. Something else I at least wanted to shout out was Marisha's incredible like physical acting.
Yes.
Like when she was pulling her hair and like doing that crazy thing with her hair. It's just like, and Marisha's great about this. Like anytime they're eating, she's always very physical about like actually like doing stuff like that. She's very just physical. I keep saying the word physical.
I never really noticed that until Joy, in watching CR3, has pointed out several times. Joy says that she's really good with her hands. Like every time she talks and does things, she's just very it's a nice nuance for like table presence, for sure.
Yeah, and it really just, it elevates the performance. Like, I mean, that seeing Laudna, like, I don't even know how to describe what Marisha was doing with her hair, but she was like springing it up kind of or something. I don't know, but it really did.
We don't know what to call it, but we liked it.
It really puts you in the scene more, like you can really you can see it. So I just wanted to shout her.
I think she's probably my favorite. I feel like I'm constantly going between people. I think for now she's my favorite for sure. So.
Laudna's been incredible. So I'm not ready. I don't think I'm ready to pick one. But
if you don't agree with me, then you hate women. So.
Oh god.
Like, oh my gosh.
Oh, but yeah, just wanted to shout her out for that.
For sure.
And then I don't really have anything else, but one thing that it wasn't too big this episode, but we didn't get to talk about it last time, was just the all minds burn. Just I don't really have a point to make here, but I'm just curious what the heck's going on there. Like, we know that they're all high on something, and they all are like have a hive mind, and Imogen sensed something below the earth.
I think I liked someone. I think maybe they commented on our video. I saw someone say maybe it's a mind flayer lair, which I really liked.
That would be
theory.
crazy.
That lined up for me. I was like, "Ooh, that's a great detail."
I don't think I saw that comment. I'm gonna have to go back.
It must have been on Reddit then, or maybe not. I don't know. Sorry for whoever wrote it. If you were on our YouTube.
But yeah, I just am very fascinated by that because like, and Ashton said it's been there as long as he can remember. So it's I don't know. It's just it seems so weird to be something that's so normalized. So like,
yeah.
And that they think they could fix Laudna, they could clean out her attic or whatever. It's just interesting that they even think that they could do that. But maybe it's a situation of like, oh, you'll become part of us, and then that's all there was going to be. So in a way, we're cleaning out your attic because you're just basically going to be.
Well, and how odd that they were even aware of what was happening with Laudna.
Yeah,
just from a first conversation.
Yeah.
So
that's just, I don't know. It's very strange because they feel like they have a lot of pull, like they're orchestrating, like sabotaging this race, essentially. So they're on one hand a capable, powerful organization, but on the other hand, they're treated as all these junkies. So it seems like to me, whatever is underneath the ground, be it mind flare or whatever it is controlling these people to some extent, and just their public facing puppets are these people on drugs, but really there's something more calculated going on.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know.
We'll find out on Thursday, I guess.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let us know in the comments what you guys thought, theories, ideas. Will, what do you want to do for the thumbnail?
Maybe somebody being awkward and somebody being like suave because Dusk is hitting on everybody.
Yeah, we could do I could be the awkward one if you want.
Okay, just like embarrassed, and I don't know what I'm gonna do, but
yeah,
just like
sure.
Perfect.
All right.
Also, don't forget, giveaway at 1,000 subs. Please subscribe if you haven't. But we are also on all the podcast platforms, so feel free to check us out there. Apple, Spotify, Google. I think there's another one, but I can't remember.
Yeah, that's the big ones for sure. All right. Well, bye.
See you guys.